Hello everyone, and welcome to a new video about poker. Today, we are going to talk about Poker HUD stats. This is an introduction to player stats, so we will only talk about the basic stats that everyone can find on poker sites, such as GG Poker or WPT Global. By knowing these stats, you can get a good idea of the types of players at your table. For this video, we will use examples from GG Poker, because it has a more complete HUD. Before starting, always remember to check the number of hands a player has played. The larger the sample of hands, the more accurate the stats will be. The first stat is VPIP. VPIP is short for voluntarily put money in pot. It is a pre-flop stat and indicates how often a player called, bet, or raised. This is the most important stat, because it tells us what percentage of hands someone is playing. In this sample of almost 400 hands, we can see that this player's range could be something like this. That is why this stat is important, because it lets you know a player pre-flop range. For example, another player with a 50% VPIP will include many weaker hands in his pre-flop range. The next stat is PFR, which stands for pre-flop raise. It shows how often a player raises pre-flop and indicates their level of aggression. The higher the PFR, the more aggressive the opponent. In combination with the VPIP, PFR will tell you what percentage of hands the player plays aggressively, and what percentage they play passively. In our example, a VPIP 21% and PFR 17% tell us this is a regular player. He has a tight range and plays it aggressively. In conclusion, this player will almost exclusively make an open raise, 3-bet or 4-bet. On the other hand, we will find players with high VPIP and low PFR. A player with a 40 of VPIP and 10 of PFR will be a loose passive type. In general, they are new or recreational players. These are the calling stations of poker. Mostly, they will just limp or call, rather than raise pre-flop. Now, let's talk about 3-bet. This stat tells us how often a player 3-bets pre-flop. It is a percentage of how many times a player 3-bet when he had the opportunity. Combined with PFR, 3-bet will tell us how aggressive a player is. The higher the 3-bet percentage, the more aggressive the player will be. In our example, a 7% of 3-bet will look like this. A regular player will 3-bet 100% of the times with his stronger hands, and some frequency with the weaker hands. A passive player will only 3-bet around 2 to 3%. Only with really strong hands. So, we must be careful when they do it. The last one is ATS, which stands for attempt to steal. It shows how often a player open-raise from the cutoff, button, or small blind when given the opportunity. A regular player of 6 max will have an ATS around 35. The higher the ATS, the better to 3-bet or 3-bet bluff a player, because he will be trying to steal a lot of hands. In the other hand, a player with low ATS will show that he only plays good hands. An ATS similar to PFR may mean the player is not positionally aware. This is why the open raise ranges for late positions are bigger than earlies. As an example, take a look at button's range and under the gun's range. We reached the end of this tutorial. If you have any comments or questions, please write a comment below.